Welcome. Today we are getting into a uh, a really fascinating and, let's be honest, a frustrating problem that hits some of the smartest people I know right when they decide to go independent.
Mm.
We're talking about brilliant, high-level consultants, specifically independent quantity surveyors, QSs, who are trying to build those stable, high-earning, six-figure freelance careers.
And it's a paradox, isn't it?
It's a huge paradox. Our mission today is really to unlock that disconnect between being technically amazing at your job and actually having consistent business success.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. You could be an absolute master of, I don't know, forensic claims analysis, complex procurement strategy, you name it, the best in the business.
Truly world class.
And yet what we've seen shows that even then you can be technically exceptional and still be struggling month after month with a totally inconsistent pipeline of work. And that's the surprise that causes so much stress.
And that instability, that feast or famine cycle, that's really what we need to solve today.
Exactly. How do you shift your practice from, relying on luck or waiting for a phone call to a stable, confident business where you are in control? That's the foundation of becoming a stable six-figure freelancer.
The stakes here are
Yeah.
they're incredibly high. And this isn't just for QSs, really. This is for anyone who's ever left that corporate salary behind, for the uncertainty of going it alone.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to be crystal clear. This is not a problem of your skill at all. It's a problem of strategy, of structure.
Okay, so strategy.
Yeah. Pipeline inconsistency,
Yeah.
it leads to unsustainable businesses, incredible stress, and, eventually burnout. Doesn't matter how good you are at cost planning, you can't build a career on chance.
So where do we start?
Well, our roadmap today is pretty clear. First, we have to dig into that shock of moving from the corporate world to being on your own. We're calling it the corporate hangover.
I like that.
Then we'll get into the uncomfortable truth about what really causes that inconsistency. And finally, we'll lay out the 6 pillars that turn a struggling expert into a confident, stable, six-figure consultant.
So we're replacing hope with a system.
That's it, exactly. Replacing luck and hope with a predictable system.
Okay, let's get into it. Let's start with that comfort zone, because you can't really grasp the shock of going independent until you appreciate what you're leaving behind. The corporate comfort blanket.
It's the perfect name for it.
Because when you work for a big consultancy, a main contractor, a big QS firm,
Yeah.
work just appears. It's almost magical.
It feels like it, yeah. You come in, you do your job, and there's always another project file on your desk, a new claim to analyze. It's this endless, reliable flow.
But it's not magic. And I think we need to break down why that happens, because that's where this blind spot gets created.
Absolutely. The mechanisms are, well, they're sophisticated, and they're almost completely invisible to the technical teams. For one, the firm has dedicated business development teams, BD teams.
Oh, yeah. The people who are out there pitching, going to conferences, closing deals.
Exactly. They're filling the pipeline for you.
Yeah.
And it's not just them. You have formal tender processes that bring in this huge structured flow of opportunities months, even years in advance.
And what about repeat clients? And those big frameworks?
Yes, master service agreements, they create predictable work cycles that are tied to, huge capital budgets, not to your individual effort. It's systemic.
I think maybe the most subtle one is the internal referral. A partner wins a massive infrastructure project.
And they need 10 QSs to staff it.
Right. And where do they find them? Internally. The individual QS never had to do a single bit of marketing to get that work. It just landed on their desk.
It's a whole ecosystem designed to shield the technical expert from the chaos of the market. The rejection, the feast and famine, all of it.
And that lets you focus, 95% of your time on just being brilliant at your craft.
But then you step out of that system.
And that's when it hits. That's the moment of realization. The sources we looked at describe it so vividly. It's this cold dread when the new independent consultant suddenly understands they are the BD team.
It's like a Michelin-starred chef who suddenly realizes they also have to source the ingredients, do the accounting, and book the tables.
That's a great analogy.
Because so many high-level pros, they just assume their deep technical skill, let's say with NEC contracts, will just, automatically translate into clients lining up at their door.
They forget about the entire infrastructure that was doing that for them.
Exactly. That infrastructure was making the market aware of their skills, qualifying the leads, closing the deal. All of that is now on them.
And this is This is the hidden cost of expertise, isn't it?
It really is.
Being exceptional at the technical stuff is, of course, necessary. But, and this is the key, it does not automatically guarantee a steady flow of work.
In fact, it can be a liability. Relying on just your technical rep is a huge liability if you don't build the commercial side with equal focus.
It's the classic difference between being a brilliant employee and a savvy business owner.
Two completely different skill sets. The skills to get the work marketing, sales, networking, lead generation are fundamentally different from the skills to do the work.
And that's the gap. You go from being a specialist worker to a business owner overnight. The problem is that corporate structure. It was such an effective blind spot. It shielded you so well that when you go solo, you are functionally starting from scratch on the whole business development front.
And that lack of preparation, that strategic void, is what makes the transition so brutal. It leads directly to stress and, crucially, to that inconsistency that keeps so many smart people stuck in that busy but broke phase.
Okay, so we've established the pain point. The technical skill is there, but the business development structure is completely missing. So now we can pivot to the absolute core revelation here. If we know the gap is commercial, not technical, we can finally talk about the real cause of that pipeline inconsistency. And here it is, the uncomfortable truth. The thing that separates the people who struggle from those who succeed. Pipeline problems are almost never technical problems. They are positioning problems.
This is such a critical shift in thinking. It forces you to look inward at your strategy, not outward at the market.
So what does that mean exactly? Why does positioning trump skill?
Because technical skill is just the price of entry. It's table stakes. If you're a QS consultant aiming for 6 figures, the market just assumes you're technically excellent.
That's just the baseline.
It's the baseline. Positioning is about differentiation. It's about controlling how clients perceive your value, controlling the story about what specific high-pain problem you solve and who you solve it for.
So a poorly positioned consultant just sounds like every other QS out there.
Exactly. But a well-positioned consultant sounds like the definitive, the non-negotiable solution to a really critical problem.
And when consultants haven't figured that out, they fall back on these defensive, panicked strategies just to get some money coming in.
Yes. And these strategies, they feel safe in the moment, but they're the very things that drive the instability. We should probably break down the 5 most common traps.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the first, and this is probably the most common one we see, is relying on passive acquisition. So word of mouth and old colleagues.
Which sounds good on the surface. Referrals are great.
They are. They're fantastic sources of work. But relying only on them is completely reactive. It's unpredictable. It means your business pipeline is dictated by the schedules and budget cycles of your old network.
You've given up control.
Completely. You have delegated control of your income to somebody else. And what happens if your old firm has a hiring freeze?
Your phone stops ringing.
Exactly. It's not a business strategy, it's a dependency strategy. It keeps you tied to a shrinking pool of old contacts instead of building new market relationships.
Which leads right into the next trap, doesn't it? The hope strategy. Just hoping for referrals.
Yes, and let's be blunt, hope is not a business plan.
Not at all. A successful practice needs predictability. You need to know that if you take certain actions, leads will come. Hope is the exact opposite of that.
It turns your business into a passive thing. You're just sitting there waiting, praying for something to happen instead of being an active, intentional driver of your own growth. The psychological toll of that is just enormous.
Oh, it's brutal. That feeling every Friday afternoon where you're just anxious about next month's cash flow, it's exhausting.
And that pressure leads directly to trap number 3, which is incredibly insidious.
Yeah.
The value erosion trap, or underpricing to win work.
This is a dangerous one. It's a quick fix. You quote a low day rate, you get the work, you fill the next few months. Problem solved, right?
Wrong. It solves the immediate work now problem, but it creates a catastrophic long-term stability and revenue problem. It actively stops you from reaching that stable 6-figure status.
Why is that?
Because underpricing signals to the market that you're a commodity, not an expert. You're selling hours. And clients who buy hours, they prioritize cost over expertise. They'll haggle over every invoice.
And they're not the clients who will give you that high-value, interesting follow-on work.
Never. So you get stuck in this low-margin, high-volume cycle. To make, say, $100 grand, You need to bill a huge number of hours at that low rate.
Yeah,
It becomes a numbers game you can't win because there aren't enough hours in the year.
exactly. And that's the stress part. You have to take on this insane volume of work just to hit your basic targets. You end up working 70-hour weeks just to make what you could have made in 40 with proper expert pricing.
You're not a highly skilled QS anymore. You're a poorly paid laborer who just happens to own their own business.
Which brings us to the fourth trap, the one that's so tempting when you're desperate, the scope creep trap, saying yes to everything.
The absolute opposite of having a niche. One week you're doing cost control for a residential project. The next you're doing delay analysis for a commercial fit-out.
You're just a generalist. A pair of hands.
And that's the signal you send to the market. You're a commodity. You're interchangeable.
Yeah.
A real specialist is defined by saying no to 90% of opportunities so they can be the only choice for the 10% they're perfect for.
A generalist can only compete on price and availability, which is a race to the bottom.
And all four of these traps, relying on hope, underpricing, saying yes to everything, they all lead to the exact same devastating result. The feast or famine cycle.
And anyone listening who's been there knows this feeling perfectly.
Oh, yeah. 1 month, you're absolutely buried in work. A few lucky referrals came through. You're working nights, weekends. You feel secure. Cash is flowing.
And then what happens?
Those projects wrap up, and you look at your pipeline, and it's empty. The next month, you're just staring at the calendar, wondering what's next, burning through the cash you just made.
And the key thing to realize here is that this isn't random. This stress, this inconsistency, it's the natural, predictable outcome of using these broken strategies.
It's the system producing the result it was designed to produce. You can't build a six-figure practice on a foundation of luck.
But I have to ask, when you desperately need that cash flow, isn't it really hard to say no to that generalist, low-margin job you know you can do easily?
Of course it is. That's the challenge. It takes short-term discipline to get long-term freedom. The temptation to take that low-hanging fruit is massive because it solves the immediate problem.
But it compromises your long-term goal.
It actively sabotages it because you become known for the work you take, not the work you want. This cycle is completely unsustainable if your goal is confident, high-earning stability. To escape being busy but broke, you have to replace these reactive habits with a proper structure.
Okay, so that's the perfect transition. Let's talk about that structure, the blueprint for stability.
This is where the shift happens. It's when the consultant stops relying on luck and hope and deliberately installs 6 specific interconnected elements into their business. It's about replacing chaos with structure.
Let's start with the foundation, pillar 1.
Pillar 1 is defining the market. That means having a clear niche and a defined client type. This is completely non-negotiable.
And for a field as broad as quantity surveying, a niche is so important, isn't it? It lets you dominate a small, specific area instead of just being another face in the crowd.
It's exponentially more profitable and predictable to be the go-to expert in a narrow field than a generalist in a wide one.
So let's get concrete. What does a powerful QS niche actually look like? It's more than just saying, I do estimating.
Much more. So, for example, a niche could be forensic claims reconciliation, but only for NEC Option E contracts.
Wow, that's ultra specific.
It is. It targets disputes on cost reimbursable contracts, which is a huge headache and high risk for the client. You're not just a QS, you're a dispute mitigation specialist for a very painful, very specific contract type.
Okay, give me another one.
How about BFI contract wind down and handback strategy? This targets large public sector clients whose decades-long PFI contracts are ending. The liability transfer is complex, it's mandated, and it's high value.
So you're solving a problem that has a deadline and legal implications.
Exactly. Or a third one, expert witness support for insurance claims related to subcontractor insolvency. Here, your client is a law firm or an insurance company, and you're providing the quantum analysis they need for litigation.
So the common thread here is that these niches focus on complexity or pain or compliance.
That's the key insight. When you solve a problem that's either really painful, really risky, or legally required, clients stop arguing about your fees.
And that has to be paired with a defined client type, knowing exactly who pays for this.
Yes. In the expert witness example, your client is the law firm, not the contractor. In the PFI example, it's the asset owner. This clarity lets you focus your marketing with laser precision and stop wasting time pitching to people who can't afford you or don't have the problem you solve.
Okay, so once you have that niche and client, what's pillar 2?
Pillar 2 is creating predictable value. This means having a repeatable offer and pricing that reflects your expertise.
A repeatable offer. So this is about productizing your service, right? It's the engine of scale. It gets you out of custom scoping every single project from scratch, which just eats up non-billable time.
Exactly. Instead of just offering general claims advice, you offer, say, the three-phase claims readiness audit.
Okay, break that down.
Phase 1, document review. That's a fixed fee of, say, $5,000. Phase 2, quantum causation assessment. That's a fixed fee of $15,000. Phase 3, dispute resolution strategy. Another fixed fee.
So the client knows exactly what they're getting, the steps involved, and the cost up front. It removes all the uncertainty.
And it makes it so much easier to market and sell. Plus, on your end, you can create templates and processes, making you incredibly efficient.
And that efficiency then supports the new pricing model. This is where you escape the hourly rate trap.
Absolutely. Pricing has to reflect the value you deliver, not the hours you work. If you're solving a claims issue that saves a developer £5 million, your value isn't measured by the 50 hours you spent. It's measured by the £5 million risk you just eliminated.
That's the break from the commodity cycle. You're no longer selling your time, you're selling a solution, a predictable outcome.
You mentioned an analogy about a suit earlier.
Oh, right. The corporate world is like buying a suit off the rack. It's a standard day rate. The struggling freelancer is trying to tailor every suit from scratch, wasting time. But the successful six-figure freelancer, they sell a repeatable, bespoke offer. It's engineered for a specific client with a specific problem, and it justifies a premium price because the client knows it will be a perfect fit every time.
That's a perfect analogy.
Okay, so that brings us to the final pillars. This is about building the engine of growth, right? Replacing that hope strategy.
Yes. Pillar 3 is the engine of growth, which is made up of a simple marketing rhythm and a predictable way to generate leads.
And the key word there is simple, isn't it? It's not about being everywhere.
Not at all. It's consistency over complexity. It's about having a manageable, regular schedule of activities that keeps you top of mind within your niche.
So what does that look like for a high-value QS consultant?
It should be about authority and relevance, not volume. So one tactic, publish a proprietary industry report, maybe once a year. The true cost of NEC Option C delay in UK infrastructure. Something high value that uses your unique data.
That immediately positions you as a thought leader.
Instantly. Or another tactic, targeted client case studies. Instead of a generic blog, you interview a client, talk about the specific pain points you solved, and share that on LinkedIn or in a specialized trade publication.
High touch, low volume.
Exactly. Or maybe host one exclusive high-value webinar per quarter for a pre-qualified audience of your ideal clients. The goal is to be focused. These actions attract leads based on your specific expertise.
And that all builds towards having a predictable way to generate leads, the true antidote to just hoping for referrals.
Yes. This means you control the inflow. You know that if you publish your report and promote it to a specific audience, you can expect a certain number of qualified calls.
That's the profound shift, isn't it? It's moving from being reactive to being in control. From waiting for the phone to ring to knowing that your consistent actions will yield a consistent return.
That's what stabilizes your revenue.
Sure.
That's what eliminates the stress. It lets you choose your clients, choose your projects, and control your rates.
So if a consultant does all of this, if they install these 6 pillars, what does the after picture look like?
The transformation is total. It moves them from struggling to stable. They become a true 6-figure freelancer.
Let's paint that before picture again. The consultant was defined by inconsistent revenue, high stress, no control. Technically brilliant, but commercially just exposed.
Right. And the reward for putting in the structure is the exact opposite. You move from busy but broke to steady, predictable, and genuinely confident.
You can actually turn down work.
You can, and you should. You can turn down the low-value generalist stuff because you know your system will deliver a high-value specialized project next month. You control your scope, your calendar, and your income.
And the most important change is in that value perception.
When you're the go-to expert with a repeatable solution for a specific problem, clients stop seeing you as just a pair of hands they hire by the hour.
They see you as the solution.
They value you for what you truly bring.
Mm-hmm.
Guaranteed problem resolution. They're not buying 40 hours of your time anymore. They're buying the definitive answer to their most painful, highest-risk commercial problem. And that is achieved through positioning, not just through technical skill alone.
So to wrap this section up, all 6 of these elements are interconnected. It's not a buffet where you can pick and choose.
Not at all. They form a closed loop. The niche enables the repeatable offer. The repeatable offer simplifies your marketing. The simple marketing generates predictable leads, which justifies your expert pricing. If you ignore one part, the whole structure can collapse.
So the big lesson for anyone listening is that your technical mastery is necessary. It gets you in the game. But strategic market positioning, built on these 6 pillars, that's what's sufficient to actually win the game.
It's what gives you control over your financial future and, honestly, your quality of life as an independent consultant.
So that really brings us to the end of this. Look at how technical experts can escape that feast and famine cycle and become stable, 6-figure freelancers. The journey, it seems, isn't about getting better at your technical job. We assume you're already great at that. It's about building a deliberate, predictable structure around how you get work.
A radical shift in focus.
Right.
From just delivery to acquisition.
Right. Focusing on that niche, the defined client, the expert pricing, and that simple, repeatable marketing rhythm.
And if your current system is just, well, if it's based on word of mouth, luck, or hope, you now have the specific elements you need to install. The first step is always just accepting that uncomfortable truth that your problem is about positioning, not your performance.
Which leads us perfectly to our final thought.
I think so. I'd like to leave you with a core question to think about as you plan your next quarter.
Go for it.
If your technical skill in your field is a perfect 10 out of 10, but your business development strategy relies on passive hope, how much of your actual revenue and how much of your future stability is really determined by external luck versus your own internal strategic and controllable effort?
That is the core question.
I think it is. It's the one every independent professional has to answer to achieve that lasting confidence, stability, and become a true 6-figure freelancer.